if memory serves correct. Webinars allow live streaming on Facebook. Then I go here, I click this post button. I say this every time. That's how you know that this is live, guys. If you ever see a video where I don't begin by announcing that I'm going to my Facebook page and doing all this stuff, it's probably a knockoff. Let's see. So now I click this, click mute. That's an important part. This is how you guys know it's authentic. There we go. It's happening. Now I can see if people put stuff there. I want gallery view, so I just see my face. Okay, we're live. I'm Adam Quiney. I'm gonna do live coaching. This is a mug. This is the battle teapot. I'm gonna pour the tea in here so that you can see it done live. There you go. Now I'll put it down so I don't hurt myself. It's a heavy teapot, and I believe in safety. Well, here we are, guys. It's Friday. It's the third week for us in kind of just being inside. And what a time. It's crazy. Do you guys find it crazy? I find this crazy. It's crazy and it's exciting and it's underwhelming and it's like everything. It is everything. My friend Leanne has a show she calls All the Everything. That is a very fitting term for where we are right now. We are in the midst of all of the everything. So this week I've been in inspiration, creativity, felt very powerful at times, fairly deep in my masculine, and my ability to allow myself to feel all of this while still being on purpose. And I've also felt sadness and heartbreak and longing and yearning and loss and just, you know, the full range, incredible spectrum. So that's what there is for us to be with these days, it seems. It's interesting to notice that one of the things that caught my eye just the other day, you know what, I'm going to put on some jewelry while we talk. It's a nice thing. It's like I'm getting ready. You're with me while I get ready. So this is a piece of jewelry that I made because this used to be a watch much like this one, this wooden watch, but the watch got broke. And so I was like, well, if I got enough links, I could make that a cool bracelet. And so what I did was I then got enough links, and this is, you're going to probably be able to see where this story goes. I then made a bracelet as I had said that I could do if I got enough links. So it's kind of a neat story of how I thought about doing something and then I did it. It's a great declare and fulfill kind of story. So anyhow, what was I talking about before I totally hopelessly distracted myself with a dumb joke that I found amusing? I don't really know. I hate this new, I wish I could go back to my old system. It doesn't show me if anyone's even watching this. And I need that. That's the grade for how well I'm doing. Oh, well, I guess I'll just have to be with that. I'm curious, I wonder what you guys are doing to keep yourself occupied. I'm spending a lot of time writing. I'm spending a lot of time planning out the next iteration of our projects, getting ready for the virtual summit. Our guest today, Kelly, is going to be a part of that with us. I'm sitting in stillness a lot, I notice. Like there's a lot of energy that's live for me that I'm feeling. And often where I kind of historically get to with that is I try to like blow it off. You know, I'll go for a run, I'll go for a bike ride, I'll try to do a bunch of work. I'll almost maybe be a little manic with it. And instead what I've been called to take on, what I've felt moved towards is just sitting, a lot of sitting in meditation, not trying to clear my mind so much as just let whatever is there be there. Werner Erhard, who founded Landmark Education and Erhard Seminars Training, EST, as it was called, and runs a program now called Being a Leader that Bay and I attended, he'd often say, if you can let it be, whatever it is that you're kind of like tweaked with, if you can let it be, it will let you be. Oh, Kelly is telling me that she doesn't see this live. Well, you know what, Kelly, I can talk to you directly because I think you're in the green room. So if you maybe go to my business page and see if that's there, or if you click the link, or maybe we're not even live and I don't understand how that works. You let me know. You tell me. And it looks like Leanne's joined, so we've got someone that can see it. And maybe you can tell us if this is like hidden. Maybe I've hidden this live in a labyrinth somewhere. Okay, what was I talking about? I don't want to encourage you guys to do this. Kelly's messaging me. She's making me laugh. So, okay, she's got no link. Huh, that's weird. Well, I don't know what to do about that. Leanne, you message. Put a comment here and let us know how you found this and if it's a challenge and if people need to do something. And people don't take this as an opportunity to distract me by sending me a whole bunch of messages while I'm trying to get shit done and talk about stuff here. Yeah, so as I was saying, I've been sitting in a lot of stillness, letting myself feel and be with what is there. And what I find is I shouldn't talk about y'all, but I don't relish feeling sad or heartbroken or scared or frantic or whatever it is. But if I really just allow myself to feel those things, to experience the experience that is there to be experienced, say that again so it doesn't sound quite like a rap. If I let myself experience the experience that is there for me to experience. So if what is there for me to experience is anger, if I let myself experience myself as angry, it tends to flow through me like a screen door with water passing through it. And so that's been my practice for the most part. And the beautiful thing about that is I'll sit and I'll be sad or happy or angry or whatever. And then the next thing will come and I'll feel moved to go and practice drumming, or I'll feel called to sit down and write a bunch, or I'll feel called to sit on the couch and do nothing, or I'll feel called to play video games. Some of the things I'm noticing are that, a little bit surprisingly, a lot of my distractions are falling away. So I'm finding myself less interested in video games. I'm finding myself less interested in stimulating myself. Kelly and I were talking about this right before we went live here, that caffeine, as an example, has become less interesting, as has like eating a bunch of sugar or stuff like that, because there's so much feminine energy that's been kicked up by this. And there's not a lot of stimulating that we need. Now, the irony is it's like all this energy has been kicked up. It's like everything's sped up and then everything's slowed down completely. So pretty cool time to practice. Let's have another sip of tea and see if there's anything left for me to say before we bring Kelly on. Okay, there's some people here. I can see that some people have joined. I can see a little eyeball with numbers. That's good. So Kelly, I don't know what the heck's going on for you, but people have found this link somehow. So, and I'm going to try to avoid doing tech support in this modality. This doesn't work. Okay. I'm bored of listening to me talk. Let's bring Kelly on. Kelly, get that video off. Put your microphone on. Get your video on. That's what I meant to say. I feel dumb now. Hello. We're having fun.
Here laughing my ass off.
Good. That means that that means that you like me. That's how I gauge that. That's the grade I get. Yeah. People like me if they're laughing.
Yeah.
That was actually very much a childhood programming part, was as long as people are laughing, then they like me. And so I became like very needy to make sure that people laughed, which was incredibly awkward, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience. I think if I was not being made fun of, then I figured I was safe. You know, if I was hidden, invisible, then I was good.
That was it. So your strategy was to hide and be invisible. Mine was kind of like wrest control of the making fun of. So it's like, oh, you're going to make fun of me? Well, I will do it even better. The joke will be on me, but I will be the one to control it, which is like kind of like it works, but it's also like doesn't feel that good. People were laughing, but anyhow.
Yeah. I have to say, for some reason, I'm just like, my palms are all sweaty. I'm all just like, oh my God, I don't know what the deal is, but.
And we have a million viewers right now too. The numbers are blowing up.
Yeah, I figured they would be. I love that cup, by the way, that little tiger. That's adorable. Hint, hint. When I was listening to you talking about sitting in the stuff and feeling all the feels, I was really resonating with that, because like normally my MO is to run the fuck in the opposite direction when difficult feelings start to arise.
Yes.
And, I've been working on this for a while, especially with anger, letting that come up and letting it come out. And you've witnessed a lot of that growth and really encouraged a lot of that growth, which I'm grateful for. But yesterday, this is the time of year, it's getting close to when my mom died.
Mm.
And so there's all this stuff swirling around. And then I noticed that sort of starting to come up. And yesterday morning, I was on a conference call with my team, and I just felt all this grief arising. And the old me would have been like, yeah, shut it down. And I was like, here it comes. So I just put myself on mute and just sat here and sobbed.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of like the wave through the screen door that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I just let it go, and then it passed. And I was like, okay, and went along with my day, And the similar thing happened this morning. I was working this morning pretty early, and got an email from one of my leaders, and it was a video showing one of my hospitals with a bunch of staff outside with their phones, and they were all gowned and masked up, and the local PD, police department, fire department, and all those came to the hospital with their lights and sirens and kind of did this like circle thing, like they were letting them
Circle
know.
thing.
Circle thing. That sounds weird. But
A little bit.
Thing is, they drove around in a circle. They drove into the parking lot, and there's kind of a circle-y thing, and they drove through that really slowly. Just it was a symbol of their gratitude to the healthcare workers, and it was so beautiful. And of course, that made me start crying, and I was just I just let it happen, and then it passed, and now here we are.
It's kind of funny because I noticed myself clinging and resisting are the two ways we kind of get ourselves stopped. And for the longest time in my life, I would like resist heartbreak, sadness, probably anger, like a lot of this stuff. And then I would cling to joy. And now I'm finding, like, now that I've opened myself, I've created the depth to allow those things to exist. There's like a bit of desire to cling to them, kind of like, that scab you keep, or when I was a kid, it was a pimple. You keep like, does it still hurt? Yeah, it still hurts. Let's check again in, 2 seconds. Yep, right. Still hurts.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating, this, like, our humanity at play as this stuff shows up, and how we can get ourselves stuck in such funny ways.
Yeah, the amazing thing that I've been learning over especially the last year or two, is really, it is so true that if you limit your ability to feel the deep pain and sorrow that life can bring sometimes, you're naturally limiting the other side of it. So it's about, like you've talked about, it's about range. And my range is starting to expand, and it feels glorious. It's incredible how much more joy and love I can feel because I'm allowing myself to feel that much more anger, rage, fear, sadness, whatever. It's incredible.
That's awesome. I'm terrified to see what we're going to create on this conversation now. Well, let's go there. And I'm not actually, that's just funny to say. What are we going to, like, and I'm going to take some notes as we do this. If you see me looking down, what are we going to get resolved? What are we going to talk about? Where should we jump in? Okay, I love it when we start with a big sigh.
It's kind of hard because there's always so much.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that's kind of coming up for me right now is, given everything that's going on in the world, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot more fear, a lot more anger, a lot more frustration, in part because of the gang of morons that's in charge of our country, but also the fear of anyone I love, anyone really, but anyone I love getting sick and dying. So I want to run away from that. I want to escape it, right? So it's like I have been trying to, like, take a shower and put on work clothes and eat relatively healthy. Not like it's Christmas Day every day. Start to work out again, and things like that. But I feel this incredible tendency to want to just, like, shut the fuck down. But I don't want to live that way, because I recognize that. Well, give me a quick example. So I'm in AC, accomplishment coaching. We have work to do. before our weekend. And don't tell them, but I haven't done any of it. I've done my job and I've done some other little things, but why is that? Why haven't I done it? Well, because I'm just like, well, fuck it. I just need to take care of myself. I'm doing everything I can do, blah, blah, blah. But I also recognize that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I want to be the person that can, when the shit's hitting the fan, I can still be in integrity. I can still be commitment consistently, because I am in a lot of different areas, but then there's some breakdowns, like the work that I could have done for AC this month.
Right. So I think I've got this, I think I'm hearing what you're saying, which is that there is the mother of all or the father of all, whatever, like the mother load, we'll say that. Now I can't find the right words. The non-gendered big version of all circumstances that are here, right? Like, holy crap, if ever there was a reason not to do stuff, here it is. And yet you're also present to the fact that on some level, I mean, if we frame this in a leadership conversation, that leader creates in the face of life rather than when life allows leader to create. Is that roughly kind of the context? Okay. Mm-hmm. Got it. So is there, hold on, let me just check in. I get this conceptually. Is there like an area in your life where you're like, boy, I would really love to be creating something different or not be getting stopped here? Or, by the way, is that someone that's hired to fix the tree behind you? Or is someone like stealing there's someone out there. Just want to make sure.
I didn't even notice. I'm so just like keyed into this. Yeah, no, it's
people aren't looting your trees or anything. I just want to make sure that, okay, we haven't gotten there yet.
It's a yard person putting some bark dust. Is it distracting? Should I close this?
No. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so is there, conceptually, that makes complete sense, right? Is there sort of a place where we could look where it's like, oh, here's where I'm finding myself stuck with this?
There's a few places. So one thing is my writing. I've started writing and I've started working on my book, and that was going fairly well until, this is all happening. And I'm like, well, there's many other things to think about. The other thing is the work that I want to do for, my extracurricular stuff with AC. And what's even deeper than that is I want to be able to be fully present and alive and awake in my life without trying to numb out because I'm scared.
Fully present and alive. And it sounds like kind of what gets in the way of that is numbing out because you're scared. Mm-hmm. Got it. So what do you feel you're being called to be fully present to and alive to in this moment, these days, whatever, that instead you are numbing out?
Part of it is being leader in the world. And I've done a little bit. I've done some online meditations with people, but I've got more in me that I can offer. And I've been holding back a little bit because it's just so much easier to watch The Good Place or RuPaul's Drag Race. It's just like, I get into the, well, who am I to do this? And, nobody needs to hear from me anyway, and it's not going to make a difference anyway, and all that jazz. Plus, I'm super scared. And I feel like, in some ways there's the panic that can arise. And I've been doing a lot of breath work, and that's been helping a great deal.
What's the intention of that breath work?
To calm my being, to calm my nervous system, to oxygenate my body, to breathe properly. So that it has a very calming effect on your nervous system, as you know, to do breath practice. When I'm in panic, so it's all up here, and it's not, it kind of gets the I don't know. the body chemicals doing something wacky that is not good. When I breathe slow and deep, it calms me down.
Okay.
And I want to be able to show up and be that for other people, because everybody's scared right now. People, I'm really feeling the people that are isolated. Well, we're all kind of isolated, but really alone, that they don't live with somebody, which can have its own, problems. But and I'm feeling the people that are struggling with mental health issues. This can make it much, much worse. And I want to be able to put more out into the world to help people. And I'm letting myself off the hook.
What is it you want to be putting out? So let me speak to everyone else first as we're doing this. So you guys can probably see yourself. Hopefully, I can certainly see myself in what Kelly's sharing. And there is a something that can be helpful to consider is like there's the court where the game is being played, and then there's the stands. And it's safe to be up in the stands. Up in the stands, you don't really have to shoot the basket and fail. You don't really have to, there's no risk. There's a degree of safety. This is not to criticize Kelly for not taking risks. It's a distinction for all of us to start using. When we are talking about stuff at a conceptual level, we're up in the stands. We have a bunch of altitude from it, which allows it to be kind of safe. And so where I'm looking with Kelly right now, and part of the reason I'm bringing this into the conversation even is for her benefit of kind of saying, oh, maybe that's the place to look, is like, let's get down onto the court in her life. What actually does she want to create? So back to you on that, Kelly, like what, if we really got onto the court of your life with this, what is it that you want to be creating that you don't seem to be creating currently?
Right now, I want to create a bigger impact for the staff of frontline healthcare workers that are my colleagues and friends. And I want to be, creating more in my own, writing, that kind of thing. And I want to be, it's hard to put words to this, but just really showing up in my day without getting like totally freaked out in terms of, when is this going to be? When are we going to be through this?
Is this, oh, sorry, was there more?
No, blah, blah. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Kelly and I have worked together in the past, for those of you that don't know that. And this is part of what I love about her. It's just so delightful to be in conversation with. So is that the way it is occurring in your head? Like, wow, what do I really feel called to do? I feel called to make a bigger impact. I feel called to do more writing. I feel called to show up without being freaked out. Got it. I notice those feel very like, they feel kind of vague and broad. And I imagine that they could then be used to like, I don't know how you would ever actually do that, because you'll never make the big enough impact. Or at least, I mean, if you do, you can bottle it and sell it to me, because I've never gotten there. There's always like more impact I could create. There's always better art I can bring into the world. And so I'm curious if those, and this isn't something I'm right about, it's more something I'm genuinely curious about is, are those serving you to hold it that way? Or are they more like a stick that you hit yourself with for not actually having achieved?
Yeah. Big stick. Yeah.
So they're more of a stick.
Yeah, they are.
Got it. So
I'm like, I have all this, I know I'm waking up to how much potential that I have, and I have achieved things, and that's wonderful. And I've helped people, and that's wonderful. But I'm waking up to the potential, not just that I have, but that every human being has. That's the exciting part. But just speaking about me right now, and I feel like in some ways I'm wasting it. And this specter of death, which I've been aware of for my whole career, because that's what I've worked around, is death and dying, mostly, and experiencing that in my own life. It feels more, it's kind of like, the clock is ticking. Let's get going. So yeah, it's a big stick I can beat myself up with, because I'm like, fuck, what are you doing, you dumbass?
Got it. Familiar place. Like we've been here before. So having shared, first of all, I just want to reflect like how quickly you stepped. Yeah, I help people and it's great. And then how quickly you move past that. I was noticed that. Um,
Yeah.
what do you like? What are you present to having shared everything you just did?
Grief.
Tell me more about that.
I'm glad that my deceased family members aren't here to see all this, but I'm like missing them very much. Like I want my mom.
Mm.
I'm really worried for I try not to be too worried because they're very safe and everything, although the government is not trying to help them very much in terms of personal protective equipment. But I'm worried about my niece, who's a new nurse and is now a COVID nurse.
Mm.
So she's working with COVID patients exclusively. My best friend's partner is an urgent care doctor working with very sick people, a lot of them COVID patients. So I feel a lot of fear, and I feel the grief of so many people. I mean, this is nothing new. It's been going on the whole time humans have been around, but so much suffering, so much pain.
Mm. What is new about it for you?
I think part of what's new is because I'm expanding my fucking range, I'm feeling it a lot more deeply.
Mm. Mm.
And I just, it's hard.
Mm.
I really want to hug, but can't get one.
Mm. What would a hug provide you? I mean, besides the obvious, right?
I think a sense of whatever happens, it's going to be okay.
Mm. Some reassurance.
Yeah, reassurance. But the grief that's in me, and it's interesting, it's come up, like I said, the last 2 mornings. It's a lot. And I feel like it's got to come out. I've got to find a way to, process it. And I think that's the thing that's mostly holding me back right now, that makes me want to numb out is, people say sometimes if you're grieving, and I work with people in grieving. I teach people about this, but that it's good to have just have a good cry and let it out. Well, when you have that kind of grief, sometimes the cry is when you're done with it, you're exhausted. You've just spent. It's not pleasant. It's almost like throwing up, but it's tears and anguish instead of gross stuff.
It's a purge, isn't it?
It's a purge.
There's a real purging of something that happens in both of those bodily functions you described. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I'm feeling it in the grief. I'm feeling it in my body right now, in my chest, in my belly, my throat.
So I notice in this moment, you're certainly more on the court of your life. You're with what's actually there in this moment. Yeah. How are you doing?
I am more in my body, more present.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm curious, like, how does what you and I are currently in together, in this conversation, in this space, how does that relate to frontline workers, the people that you really want to have a bigger impact with, show up for?
I want to be able to help kind of give them some rest and hold them energetically, because they are scared. They're sacrificing, they're doing everything they can do. and I can't be there right with them. I can't touch them. I can't, because we have to practice social distancing. They don't need to be around somebody that, is still out here. But I feel a little bit like I shouldn't get the luxury of working from home. I should be there with them. Doing what I would normally do with them. But they're on their own. And they're amazing, they're incredible, but I feel almost like I'm letting them down.
And is that how this relates with the grief and what you're allowing yourself to experience a little bit more of in this moment?
That's part of it. It's like guilt. I feel some guilt.
Yeah, I got that. That's what it felt like to me. I was like, oh, this is the part that, so there's like this grief you're feeling. And then what you just shared kind of felt like the guilt, which then has you go to like, I should have a bigger impact and I should be doing more of this stuff. And
it takes me out of the feeling.
Yeah, kind of. And it's interesting because it's ostensibly for doing stuff, but it's actually removing you from being on the court in your life.
Totally.
So
it just jumped right back up into my head. But now I'm getting back into my body again. So
okay, phew, good. All right. Got all that handled. So what I'm curious is, what do you see? I want to be clear, I don't know where we're going, first of all.
Me either.
Okay, great. We can be in this together. The question that is sort of like intuitively there for me to ask is how you see your relationship to your grief in this moment, and then how you see, like, what do you see as far as the people that you want to support and their relationship to their grief?
I'm clear that that one of the best things I can do is to allow myself to be in this and not pull myself out of it. Because right now, as I'm sinking into it, a little bit, I pulled myself out a little bit. I'm trying to allow myself to sink back in. I feel, though it's like quote unquote painful, I feel really present.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is I've had to stuff this, a lot, because the work I've done, when you're sitting with parents who just watch their child die, you can't make it about you. So part of my job is to stuff it down. And there's a lot of stuff still in there that I haven't ever really let out. So it's like, okay, how do I be fully in this, raw and open, and still be of service? Although even saying that, I feel like I'm back up in my head. It's.
Well, slow down for a sec. I think you're doing beautifully here. So I get that. Like, these parents who have lost their child, their baby, whatever it is, like, that's a tremendous amount of grief. That's like the grief that breaks us. There's something on the other side of that grief. You know that better than anyone else, but it also is like, whatever life was to you up until this moment will never again be the same. We're all in that a little bit, right? There's some real grief around this COVID. What you're picking up on is not just yours. So who or how do you show up as when you are stuffing this?
When I'm stuffing it?
Mm-hmm. What do they get when they're presented with the Kelly who's stuffing all of this?
They get the compassionate professional.
Compressional. Compassionate professional. Tell me about the compassionate professional.
I think that person touches your pain with some distance.
Hmm.
So you're probably not going to always feel the depth of love that could be felt.
Aha. It sounds, to hear you describe it, like almost a little clinical.
Mm.
Pretty common experience in a hospital. You work in a hospital, right? That's where you're doing this? Uh-huh.
I remember once I was this little baby had just died, and I was they wanted me to baptize this baby, and it was a big family. They were all gathered, and and I had the baby, and I was standing next to the mom who was in bed, and I was going through this ritual, which was for them, right? And I'm holding this child. And I started to cry. And yeah, I had to stop it because I wouldn't have been able to go any further. Because it's just, holding it. And it's weird that it's coming out now, but I never really processed some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So many babies and children and people's moms and dads and brothers and sisters.
It fucking sucks.
Fucking sucks.
Yeah. Can I share a story with you?
Yes. Take the. I'm becoming a gross snot monster, so.
No, it's beautiful where you are, and you are radiant in this place. So you may have heard Bay and I talk about our cat Maui, who is now a force ghost somewhere, doing weird Maui force ghost stuff at people. She was a beautiful cat, and she was a really tortured, might be the right way to describe it. Just life I didn't think was that fun for her. And yet we loved her, and we had to put her down. And I remember being in the office, like the veterinarian place, which is very clean. It's very clinical. You've got that bench with the paper on it and cotton swabs. I don't know, whatever's in a clinic. Those are the things I know. And it was time to put the cat down, and the vet just sat there with us, and she listened to us, and she just cried. She just cried with us. She didn't wail the way I or Bay did, but like she was really compassionate and just let herself have tears, which was so profound. It really left us feeling like someone was there with us rather than just there for us. What do you hear in that?
I know that that's true because I've experienced it on the other side, the difference. And I have been able to be that with people, but to stop the depth of it from coming out. So that's what feels like still stuck in me, is all that's never been actually released. And at the same time, I'm hearing, and what I'm getting, it as much as I was able to be there with people, sometimes shedding some tears, but not really, but trying to hold it in at the same time. Yeah, maybe there was a part of my presence that, not maybe, there was a part of my presence that couldn't have been with them.
What do you see the impact of that on your impact would be? Just to bring it back to where we started.
Not as much. Now I'm noticing I'm wanting to kick myself for holding back my.
Yeah, it's a strong muscle you have in that, hey? Because what I'm noticing is possibility. And it sounds like what shows up alongside possibility for you is like, you've heard Bay and I talk about this. Possibility and fear show up in equal and opposite countermeasures to one another. And I think they might even talk about that in AC. And it sounds like for you, the way that other side of possibility looks is like self-loathing. That's kind of like a little bit the flavor of your fear.
Yeah. You're never enough. You're never good enough. You need to do more. You need to be worthy of being loved. Otherwise, go to fucking hell.
Wow.
Basically. That sounds really dire.
It's good to have it nice, clean, clear buckets that you're right. Let me just, you feel good right now, good, whatever that is. You feel like you're all right if I take a moment to just address, okay, so for everyone watching, like, again, don't really know where we're going. What I'm present to is that where we started was up in the stands of Kelly's life, talking about what she should do or what she wanted to do in a broad sense. And at least now we're where she is. We're meeting her in her life, where she is right now. I don't have it that this is the right thing to do, or like, oh, if we just get your clients crying, then everything will shift. That's not how I'm holding it at all. In fact, I want to own that there's a part of me that's like, fuck, where do we go from here? I don't know what to do. And what I'm trusting is that what there is for all of us is to be in our life rather than observing it up in the stands. And that from there, whatever's next will show up. So that's what's going on this side of the conversation. And I also have some things I'm curious about, Kelly. The one that's there right now is I'm curious, you mentioned panic. And I'm kind of curious, like, what's the relationship between panic and what you've shared about your grief? How do those two kind of do a dance with each other?
I think they're like this. Yeah.
Please, I love this. This gesture is good. I like that emoji. Please explain it to me.
I think to the degree that I do not allow myself to feel whatever, it's going to come out in a different way. And the way it sometimes might come out is through, the sudden rush of adrenaline, the fight or flight, the cat hair, the feeling of doom and all that stuff that comes along when you have a panic attack. For sure. Because even right now, even just letting out a little bit and feeling a little bit more in my being, I feel calm. And something that I'm kind of getting on a deeper level, I feel like it's like all peeling the onion, right? When you're talking about, I don't know where this is going, I think one of the things that I'm getting on a much deeper level right now is there's so much beauty in allowing myself to feel this stuff. And it may be like a really rough workout for a minute, but afterwards there's a clearing.
Uh-huh.
And I feel more, my range just expanded. I feel more capable of even deeper love and deeper joy and deeper gratitude and deeper, deeper, deeper everything.
Huh.
Just
I
in that
really,
moment.
sorry, thanks for sharing all that. I really love that you use that word, like there's a clearing. And it's not a word I hear a lot outside of like ontological work or leadership conversations. So what do you imagine you might be called in this current environment to be a clearing for?
Mm. I think part is for people to be able to show up in whatever state they're in and be accepted and held and loved exactly as they are.
Hmm.
That we don't have to put on a show. We don't have to stuff what's real. That actually there's so much more bliss and joy in just being with that. I spent so much, I remember when I was going through my chaplain training at UCLA Medical Center, and my supervisor, who was like the earth, she would always just sit and look at me, and she would say, drop out of your head.
Hmm.
I don't know how many times she said to me, and every time I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, okay, I get it sort of conceptually, but to try and manifest this in an actual, moment of my life, theoretically, I'm understanding you. There are words coming out of your mouth, but I don't know. Give me a map. What's the direction? In fact, she sent me, one of my units was the acute adult mental health unit, with people that were on one side potentially very depressed, suicidal, and on the other side, potentially schizophrenic, psychotic, whatever. She sent me there specifically because she wanted to challenge me to drop out of my head more. And in this moment was an example of what it feels like to drop out of my head and into my heart, into my body.
When you're feeling that panic, do you find you're more, is it like a head experience or is it like a body experience? Like, where would you
It's
say you?
it's both, because chemicals start rushing and coursing through your body.
Of course.
Um, and sometimes I don't know where it comes from, because I could wake up in the middle of the night with it,
Uh-huh.
you know. So sometimes the origin is unclear, but I think mostly it's I know I was going to say a thought process thing. Thinking can create the
Yeah.
context for it to occur, and that's true. But I think also it's kind of both, like being in your body. If I'm not breathing deeply, then I'm not getting enough oxygen. That I think can start to create the conditions for it to occur.
Hmm. Right. It can trip it into action, kind of. Got it. So where do you see there is for us to go from here?
I hate that question.
Hmm.
Um,
Let me speak to everyone about that question.
yeah.
Here's like the beautiful thing. Kelly hates it because I've probably asked her a million times, and I trust whoever she's working now is asking her that a lot too. Beautiful thing about this work is we don't have to know as coach where to go. In fact, our job is to keep giving it back over to the client. And so what I'm present to in Kelly is she's kind of dropped into her body for the most part. There's still some of our conversation up here. She feels a lot more herself, and I'm not sure where to go next. So I'm simply turning it over to her to the smartest person on this call help lead us to what's next. So
Yeah. So I'm having an experience right now, a little bit in my head, but mostly present and in my body. I want more of that
where?
everywhere. I want I want to have some kind of practice or something where I can be present, vulnerable, open, so that I can feel the whole range.
I love that. So it sounds like you're saying in this moment, you're more dropped in, you're more embodied, and you're wanting more of that everywhere in your life. So what have you learned or discovered just through our conversation in terms of creating that?
Well, one thing is to let the feelings come and just feel them, and not try and, exit stage left as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
One is to be in connection with someone else and be witnessed and share that with someone else that's not trying to fix it or make it okay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I was curious about there was, it's a beautiful thing to be witnessed. And I was curious, like, I wonder if Kelly tries to fix it and make it okay when she's feeling these things by herself.
Ooh, yeah. Let me write that down.
Sure.
It's interesting. I love to be able to fix things. It's like a big on my list. But my training has taught me, when I become aware of that, if I'm coaching someone or if I'm working with a patient or a family member, physician, whatever, notice when that desire starts to come up and try and set it aside to get out of that place. But it always comes up because how can I fix it?
Yeah.
I'm definitely doing that with myself.
I'm going to share a few things I'm hearing. Not that I'm hearing them as truth, just maybe a better word is like, I'm going to share a few things that are just present for me. So the first one is my experience of panic, and I am not a clinician or anything like that, so this is worth $0. It's just my experience of it, is it tends to be our fear, and it's often rooted in like, I am not going to be okay on some level. And so what most of us try to do is we try to arrange our circumstances around us. Like, if I can get the world to look the right way, then I will be okay within that world. And often what takes us deeper and what really starts to turn things around is realizing like, oh, it's about me being okay, me learning to trust myself. Like, I can handle whatever shows up. My sense, my hunch with you, and this is not right, but is that given all of the grief that you are holding for so many people, you've been like stuffing a lot of that down, right? Which would make sense. Like, it's kind of like having a mountain behind you. You're like a glacier that's slowly moving towards you, and you've got this little house, and you get up every morning, you're like, oh boy, it's just looming, and it's moving with the speed of a glacier, but also with the force, the impact of it. And from that place, it would make sense. Everything you're holding would be driving up this panic. Like it occurs like they're kind of related. And so what there is to do is to allow the glacier to melt a bit, which you're kind of doing in this conversation. Water it's melting. It's really frozen grief that you're letting out.
Yeah.
How does that sit with you? That first part?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, cool. Well, you said the magic words. Love it when it sounds right. The second thought I have is really a belief, which is that, and I think Rich Lippman was the first person that told me this, that he said it a little differently, but I really believe if we want to impact people, we have to be willing to allow them to impact us. And I really get, like, I trust your desire to have a big impact, as well as that you are here to do it. Like, I mean, you and I have been in conversation a lot throughout like the last 5 years, and I just see that in you. You are here to be the angel you are and to free people. And did you ever watch the Wings of Desire by Wim Wenders?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great movie, right?
Really
Yeah,
good.
there's some of you in that. For those of you that haven't seen it, it's a little esoteric, but it's an amazing movie. Wings of Desire by Wim Wenders. It is the movie that does not have Nicolas Cage in it. Was this one? No, not the Nick
Right.
Cage one. Um, it feels like what I notice is as you drop into your grief and let you feel that, you become a clearing for love, and you become a clearing for other people to find their love. It seems like the door to get there, the gate you have to walk through, might be letting yourself feel some of this stuff. And it would make sense that that would be really terrifying, because it's like you're looking at the glacier and you're like, you're telling me to like let that run off. That's gonna flood the land. Like there's no way I can be with all of that. That's scary and all of that. What are you hearing in anything that I'm sharing?
Um, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I'm just, even in this moment, I'm getting reflecting a little bit on some of the images that are in my head of these experiences, and letting some of the feeling actually come up. Even for those moments, I do feel like there's a clearing now. I do feel like I'm a little bit more integrated.
Mm.
Like I'm a little bit more human. Um, God damn it, what's the name of it? Just flew out of my head. Velveteen Rabbit. You know that
Mm.
book?
Mm-hmm. It's been a long time.
I love that book, and the part that really struck me the most, which probably struck a lot of people the most, is when the Velveteen Rabbit is having a conversation with the Skin Horse about becoming real. And I don't know verbatim, but basically the Velveteen Rabbit wants to be a real bunny, really, 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 really bad. And the Skin Horse is saying, well, the thing about being real is, you get all your fur rubbed off, and your ears get floppy, and this and that other thing happens. You become sort of more physically grotesque, but but in that process, because you're loved for the being that you are, all of you, then letting yourself be impacted by your life and really feeling that and going through it, that's what makes you real. And I remember even as a child, I remember like, I really want to be real. I really want to be able to be that. And what I'm getting in this moment is, this is the moment of being real. This is a moment of what it's like to become real.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So as much as I'm like, that's a fucking huge glacier, I feel a sense of it's okay, because if I can just feel it as it comes up, look, I'm okay. And not only am I okay, I didn't just cry myself and just drop dead or whatever. I don't think that, but no one's ever started crying and not stopped. That's never happened that I'm aware of.
Mm.
By allowing it, yeah, I feel it's worth it. I guess it somehow, I don't know, I'm getting to it in my head. Somehow the glacier doesn't feel quite as insurmountable or frightening in this moment. Like if I'm really present to this, then it's like, it's okay.
What's the breakthrough on the other side? Like that's kind of what I'm hearing you describe. There's this glacier that you're looking at, right? We're like, but and that's kind of the breakdown, the fear. And yeah, you're right. Like no one's ever cried and not stopped. And yet that is a super understandable fear. Like I've had that too. Like, oh my God, if I feel the depth of my loneliness or my heartbreak or whatever, I might be whole again. What is the breakthrough available on the other side? What for do any of this?
And I'm glad you said your loneliness, your heartbreak, because that's part of it too. So there's my career grief, right? There's also all the loneliness and all the heartbreak and all the loss and all the this and that and the other thing. What's available on the other side of that? The deliciousness of being real. of being, I feel more like in this moment right now, I feel peaceful. I feel love. I am love.
That sounds like a breakthrough worth going for.
Yeah.
So what do you see would serve you in continuing to take this on practice wise? Like going forward, you know, it sounds like you've kind of seen some stuff. What might there be to keep practicing?
I think a little bit of like grief on purpose, you know, like setting aside some time every day or whenever to reflect a little bit on something that's happened in life and see if there's anything there to feel and let it come out.
Is there a time? Oh, go ahead.
And I was going to say, and also, you know, when the stuff just, you know, you're just, there's some grief, you know, let it happen, let it come out in that moment.
That's how it sounds to me too when grief shows up. I'm like, oh, it's going I'm in trouble soon. So I'm hearing you say like one, to create like a bit of a, we could call it like a sacred clearing in which to practice expressing, experiencing, allowing grief. And then there's also just moment by moment. It's not like you're going to say, I'm going to stuff it because I'm going to take out that on tomorrow morning or whenever. You're actually like going to be conscious of allowing it as it shows up too.
Yeah.
Would it serve you for us to just get clear on like the logistics of that practice so that it's like fully set, or is that something for you're happy to take on outside of this?
I think it would serve me to create something because I don't want to just, you know, droop myself away and just like, oh, that was fine. Check that off my list. So yeah.
I talked about it. So that felt good.
Yeah, that felt good. So now I'm done. Check.
Yeah.
Cool. I have my pen and my paper.
Nice. So when do you think would be like, when do you think this would be most present, like the best, or maybe not present is not, maybe not the metric we're going for, but when do you think it would most serve you to be in the practice of this? Can I ask you a question
before
that
I put my
might
makeup
shift
on.
the frame? I love that. Before you put your makeup on. The other question that might give you another, like a place to look past the breakdown you're gonna have to go into or whatever, might be like, at what point in your day would it serve you most to be opened and to be like embodying the love that you are?
The morning.
Got it. Okay, great.
Yeah, because then I'm like ready for the day. Like I'm
that wasn't
ready.
sarcasm, I don't think, was it?
No, I'm just
it felt kind of juicy, but yeah. Okay, great.
No, I'm just then. I mean, I can see that would really put me in more of a place to be like really ready for the day, like really ready to connect with people in a loving
Beautiful.
way. Yeah.
And before you put on your makeup.
Because then I can just like cry and I don't have to worry about like creating. You know. Morning time.
And what time morning time?
I want to say 8-ish.
Does it serve you to keep it kind of, and this is not like a question, it's a genuine question. Does it serve you to keep it kind of loose like that, like 8-ish? Will that sort of allow you to be more free with it, or would it serve you more to have it like, more that way?
Well, I was going to say yes, and then it occurred to me, well, this is grief on purpose. And
nice catch.
Yeah. So I'm going to say 7:30.
Beautiful.
7:30 a.m.
I have another question, which is there anything that would support you in sort of creating that sacredness that we're talking about. So like for sometimes when I sit down to write, I light a candle. And then when I finish writing, I blow the candle out. It's kind of like this is ceremony that I'm creating for myself. Is there anything like that that may serve you to put into place?
Yeah, I think just to be in a particular location. Yeah, I think for the most part, for the moment, that would be it.
Great.
Yeah.
And you're clear on that location as we're speaking right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
You didn't mention it. I just wanted to make sure you were clear. As long as you are.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else that you're present to, like, oh, if I put this in place, this would really serve, this would make a difference?
I think actually, I think what would serve me would be to create an accountability partner.
Mm.
And I have to give that some thought, but maybe it'd be my coach, but to yeah, to be kind of checking in on how's that going. And actually for right now, I think I'm going to make that my team, my AC team.
Nice.
My
Love
accountability partner. And yeah.
Beautiful. That feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
How are we doing in terms of where we started? Because this is a bit of a different direction than where we began.
Totally different direction. That's, kind of the cool magic of coaching really is when we started and my initial coaching request, it was all head. But this is like the breakthrough I needed to have.
Or the breakthrough you're creating, at least.
The breakthrough I'm creating, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get away with saying, oh, I just had a breakthrough on these calls.
It just
Adam's going to stop that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. I'll never have to practice. It's all good. Let me ask this, just so that we can bring it back full circle. Like, how do you see, hold on, let me get the right question. How do you see taking this practice on, this work on, will help you have a bigger impact, write more, and show up without being freaked out?
I notice that in the moments when I am in the being of love, there's really no fear. If it is, it's just a feeling and it's not a big deal. Mm. And from that place, I just feel more, I feel more available to people, more able to connect with them wherever they are, whatever's going on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like that would make a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
I'd love to acknowledge you, and then we'll shift to sort of debriefing. But before we do that, is there anything that that's there for you that would have this conversation be complete? This part, at least.
I wish there was a magic pill that I could just take and just always be in this place and not have to, worry about, I'm in my head again.
Yeah, me too.
You got one of those?
I've been working on it for 40 years. Another 50 or 60 and I'll have it. It'll be all set.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I really get that. The thing that's in the way is the way. I know you know this, and I have to keep reminding myself of that fact. Like, oh, right, this is the magic pill. This is the magic pill. It just doesn't go down very well. Mm-hmm. Wish it went down smooth. They're like, can you coat this shit?
Yeah.
Big ass pill I'm trying to get into my mouth. Come on, guys. Yeah. Is there anything in particular you'd like me to acknowledge you for being, Kelly?
Love.
Mm-hmm. Good choice. Well, that you are. First of all, I miss being in your presence. Really acknowledge the tremendous, it's not like a container, but just like the tremendous clearing for love that you are. And I acknowledge you for both sides of that. I acknowledge you for all of the forgiveness and the love and the kindness and the extension of gratitude and holding people that is a part of you. And then also for like, the shadows or the gates through which we must pass to continue to expand our range into that. So like the grief, the anger, the rage, the righteousness, like all of these parts that you wouldn't, the only way not to feel those would be to love very little, because that way you couldn't be impacted by people very much. And it would work. It's just not what you're committed to. So really honor you for your commitment to that breakthrough and to just continuing to grow your capacity to love people. So acknowledge you for your radiance. Like you are just shining and glowing. And it's a beautiful thing. Like you look younger than I've ever seen you. I feel you that way. Like you really feel, you feel looser and open and more surrendered. Like I really want to acknowledge you for your embodiment of the feminine energy, not from a gendered place, but from like, the polarity. And there's like a beautiful receptivity and surrender that is alive in you that is so gorgeous and juicy and just like full and rich. And that is, that's a good thing. Yeah, that will move the world. Thanks for the courage. It takes a lot of courage, and I've seen you step into courage over and over and over again. It takes a fucking lot of fear to be courageous. So much fear is required to be courageous, and you are so courageous. So I really acknowledge you for both sides of that coin. I love you, and I think you're incredible.
Thank you, Adam. I love you too.
So I just want to read a few comments first, and then we're going to debrief a little bit. Kristen says, thanks, Kelly, for your vulnerability and allowing me to sink deeper into my own vulnerability right now. Tim says, such a huge heart must have some abilities to feel intensely. Seeing you, Kelly, working allows me to connect more to my own heart. You're seeing, right? Oh, if I do, then maybe they, okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love this.
And Emmy says, you are love. Thank you for sharing with us your presence and your integration. Anything that you're sort of present to as we're into this debrief stage, like, I thought we were going to go here and we went there, or like just anything that happened or that you want to share?
I just feel remarkable. I just feel, I'm kind of awed by the power of coaching. It's something that's really so simple. It's just being present and going where the energy's going, but what can occur. And I love the sort of reminder that if I can just be fully who I am, however messy that is, that invites people in. It gives other people permission to be human too. And I love being able to drop into this place. I just love it. And I feel so grateful that even in our work together, in our relationship over the last 5 years, that I've been cultivating this. You've been giving me a lot of support, and that I can be here. It's a miracle.
Well said. I'm really present to. Here's what I'm gonna do, guys. I'm gonna link ayahuasca with COVID. Let's see how he does. So I'm really present to, like, part of what happens in ceremony is we create a space, we create a container. And there's power in creating a container, and you do a lot of work to set up a powerful container. And then we sit and we drink medicine, in this case, ayahuasca, and we're confronted with whatever, like it kicks up energy. And that's almost to a T what this has happened. Like, that was really clumsy how I said that. But like what this epidemic, this pandemic has created, it's kicked up a ton of energy, and then it's put us in the container of our house, if nothing else. And what that does is it forces us to be with what we don't want to be with in the face of all this energy. And so it's so beautiful, you getting to be with the grief that shows up there, and kind of like, if I could just do the right thing, or I want to do more of, like, lashing yourself. And as we take that away, just kind of falling down into like, oh my God, this is what there is for me to be with. That's remarkable. So I'm present to that. And the other thing that's live for me is how scary it can be coaching. It's really scary for me to like, I really am not sure, I'm trusting you and I'm trusting me. And one of the things I think is really on really being modeled in this conversation is the trust and intimacy required in this work. Trusting like, hey, we'll find our way somewhere. I'm going to trust my background and all the work I've done. I'm going to trust you to be able to be with whatever shows up. I'm going to trust us to navigate that together. And you know what's cool is it's way fucking easier from that place. Like we didn't have to figure this out. We just had to go where, like you said, it's so simple. And so too is life. That makes it scary because it's like, I'm feeling heartbroken. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to feel heartbroken. But I don't like that. I guess I'll learn to at least be with that.
I want to just point out too that trust and intimacy that you're talking about. That's the stuff of life. I mean, that makes life worth living for me, like getting to experience this level of intimacy and this level of trust, because those are two things that I've typically, because then, if I feel that, if I get to that place, then I'm going to get hurt. Being able to allow myself to be that with people and let that in. Oh.
Then we can just trust ourselves too, right? Like, and from that place, I notice this a lot where the deeper I drop into trusting myself, which is a lot of work. That's not free. It's not just something we declare loudly out into the ocean and then suddenly we trust ourselves. But like the more deeply I can drop into that, the less I have to manage my circumstances, because I can trust like, oh, I can navigate this. When I notice someone sends me a message and says, hey, that thing you said really upset me, it still gets me because I'm a human. But I can fall back into like, oh, okay, got it. There's work for me to do, and I can be with I can trust myself in this. I know I can handle this. And so, you're right. It is the stuff of life. Well said. Cool. Okay. Well, that feels like a good place for us to wind down, unless there's anything burning for you to share.
Nope.
Okay.
One thing is burning for me to share.
Yeah.
I really want to acknowledge you, Adam, for your brilliance, for your heart. You have an incredibly huge heart. I've seen you go from sort of being just the smartest, most hilarious person in the room to really just opening your whole being to all that makes you human. And that opens you naturally to all the rest of us who get to experience it. You're so beautiful. Your heart is so beautiful. I've never... checking in. Yeah. I feel a greater sense of trust in you as a man than I've ever felt with any other man on the planet. And that's very healing for me because of all the man wounds I've had from my past. Thank you for doing that work. You make the world a safer place for all of us. And I'm grateful to you.
That felt good. Thank you. I'm glad that was burning.
Yeah.
Thank you. Few things I want to say in the afterglow of that beautiful acknowledgement. First of all, if people want to find you, Kelly, if you have watched this and are inspired by Kelly and who she is and are like, God damn, I want some of that, where do people find you?
Let's see. I'm on Facebook. Kelly Childress.
I've heard of that place.
Place.
Kelly Childress on Facebook?
I think we might even be Kelly Childress on Facebook. And I'm on Instagram, Kel Childress, Kel Childress. That's where I am so far. So. And
that's the best place for people to just reach out to you and be like, you're rad, we should be friends or whatever.
Totally. Come on.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you are a coach and a million other things. So like there is an opportunity for people to get the expression of you in this work as well. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Cannot recommend a conversation with Kelly enough. I've known her for a very long time, or it feels like lifetimes at this point, and just seeing all of the work that she's done. Yeah, highly recommend that conversation. And then a plug for the intensive. which is, so if you don't already know, we've postponed it. It was originally in May from the 14th to the 17th. What's happening now is that'll occur sometime in September, hopefully. It's all up in the air. And we are doing a virtual summit for May 16th and 17th. So if you are registered, if you registered for the original intensive, or you register for whenever it's going to be, or you're like, I just really want more of this and I want to be in this kind of container that you guys are creating, let us know. That's probably the best thing. And Kelly is one of the people on our leadership team for that conversation. So you'll get to see her leading some stuff. You'll get to see her getting feedback on her leadership. And you'll get to just be in this kind of conversation, this kind of container. It's going to be awesome.
Totally awesome.
Totally awesome.
Totally awesome.
All right. We're going to end there. Love you guys. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Wait, I don't want to end this meeting. I want to end this live. That's what I